Single dad discovers amazing stranger holding his lost child. What she whispered changed everything. Jake felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Just days after losing his factory job, he watched the sun glimmer over the small Midwestern town, casting shadows on his dreams. His bright and spirited daughter, Emily, was a ray of sunshine in his life, but those grocery bills seemed to mock him as they piled high. Today, they were at the community fair, an event that was supposed to be a joyful escape, full of laughter and cotton candy dreams. Instead, anxiety churned in his stomach. He needed to make it special for Emily. He wanted her to believe in the American dream, just like his mother had instilled in him. When he finally spotted her, he felt a rush of relief. But as he turned around, his heart sank. Emily was gone. Panic exploded in his chest as he called her name, desperation clawing at his throat. The laughter around him twisted into haunting echoes. The fair transformed into a maze of strangers, each face a blur. Frantically, he pushed through the crowds, his voice cracking with fear. Emily. His heart was racing when he spotted a peculiar figure in the distance. Standing apart from the fairgoers was Sophia, the local librarian, dressed in a colorful mishmash of skirts and scarves, lovingly holding Emily's tiny hand. The sight sent a wave of frustration through him. Who was this stranger, this eccentric woman whispering stories to his daughter? Jake marched up, feeling a ferocity bubble inside him. What do you think you're doing? He snapped, his voice tight. His judgment painted a harsh picture of her. She was an outsider, and all he could see was a threat to his little girl. But as he loomed closer, the warmth in Sophia's eyes clashed against his anger. Calmly, she looked up. I was sharing a story about a brave little girl. Emily loves stories. Emily's laughter danced like music, captivating his heart even as anger coursed through his veins. As he confronted her, moments stretched. Jake's defenses crumbled, and all he felt was vulnerability. I'm just trying to protect her, he mumbled, unsure where his rage had stemmed from. The truth was, he was scared of not being enough, of losing Emily to a world that felt increasingly out of control. Sometimes, Sophia said softly, it takes a village to raise a child. It doesn't have to be just the two of you. Her voice, laced with empathy, cut through his hesitation like a knife. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake felt the prick of tears forming in his eyes. He watched Emily, completely enchanted by Sophia's storytelling, carefree and joyful in a way he hadn't seen for weeks. That joy opened up something inside him, a possibility he had shut off. Maybe there was a path forward, one that didn't have to feel so solitary, but the moment was fleeting. Just as Jake took a breath to surrender to this unexpected connection, shadows from Sophia's past began to cast over them. A figure emerged from the crowd, eyes locked onto Sophia, trepidation swirling in the air. Jake's heart raced not just for himself, but for Emily. Would this be the storm that blew away the fragile relationships he had just begun to forge? Would he let fear drive away the possibility of a new kind of family, one that might just help them both heal? Emily stood between them as Jake faced an agonizing choice. Could he embrace the unknown, or would he retreat into the safety of his old judgments? The fair buzzed with life around them, but his heart felt like it was on the verge of breaking. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The figure emerging from the crowd was unmistakable Mark, a man whose presence held the past like a tightly held secret. Memories flooded him like a rushing tide. Mark used to be a neighbor, someone they had trusted, but the friendship had soured when Mark lost his job and struggled with demons Jake couldn't understand. Since then, he'd heard whispers about Mark's temper and reckless behavior, but this was the first time their paths had crossed in months. "Jake," Mark called out, his voice heavy with an unfamiliar edge. For a moment, Jake's instinct was to shield Emily, to put his body between her and the man whose eyes held a mix of blame and desperation. He could feel Emily's tiny hand gripping his, her innocent trust in him tugging at his heart. "Stay close, Emily," Jake said, a note of urgency creeping into his tone. His heartbeat thundered in his ears as he stood his ground, body tense, ready for whatever came next. Sophia, sensing the rising tension, stepped forward, her voice steady. "Mark, I think it's best if you know," he interrupted, his eyes flickering between her and Jake. "You don't get to tell me what to do." There was a harsh edge that sent a chill through the air. "Mark. This isn't the place for this," Jake interjected, trying to maintain control over the situation. A crowd began to take notice, the air thick with curiosity and concern, pulling them into an unwanted spotlight. Jake could feel each set of eyes digging into him, weighing his next move. He didn't want a scene, he didn't want Emily scared. But Mark stepped closer, invading his space, and Jake's protective instincts kicked in. "Why don't you just let her be?" Mark shot back, venom lacing his words. "You think you're a perfect father? You've struggled too, Jake. You don't get to call me out." Jake tightened his grip on Emily's hand, her little fingers offering him strength. "I'm doing my best for her," Jake replied, his voice cracking with emotion, "but you don't get to threaten that." Fear churned in his stomach, but anger surged, a fire igniting deep within him. The truth was out there, buried under layers of hurt and disappointment. This was a man who once had it all but unraveled. He fought against the urge to pity Mark. How could he when that man had posed a risk to his child? Sophia remained nearby, watching like a guardian angel. "Mark, if there is something you need to say, it should be done in a different way. Not here, not now." The tension hung heavy between them, and Jake faced Mark, seeing a flicker of vulnerability buried beneath the anger. Then it happened, a moment of clarity washed over him. What was he fighting for? Was it pride, or something deeper? A decision loomed over him like a dark cloud. Would he defend his fears at all costs, or could he reach out, perhaps even show compassion? He looked down at Emily, whose large eyes were wide with confusion, her innocence a reminder of what was truly at stake here. Jake thought of lifting that weight off his shoulders, of the life he wanted for Emily, free of the past's shadows. "Why don't we talk?" Jake suggested slowly, feeling the words take shape as they left his lips. He didn't know if it was the right choice, but he had to try for Emily, he had to try for himself too. Mark's expression softened slightly, and the crowd buzzed with surprise. Maybe they could find a way out of the dark together. Maybe, but just as hope began to bloom, a loud commotion broke out on the side of the fair. A scream pierced the air as something unexpected unraveled before them. Jake's heart raced anew, a fresh wave of anxiety crashing over him. Was this the start of everything changing forever? The scream cut through the chatter, silencing the crowd in an instant. Jake's heart lurched, instincts kicking in sharply. He turned, scanning the fairgrounds, the bright colors of carnival tents and laughter now dulled by fear. It was a child's scream, piercing and desperate. "Emily!" he yelled, scanning the faces around him, panic gripping him. He felt an icy clutch around his heart. He couldn't let anything happen to her. But there she was, his little girl. She hadn't moved, her wide eyes locked onto the source of the chaos. Jake rushed over, gripping her shoulders firmly. "Stay by me. Don't move." The crowd began to shift, people pulling away as a group of teenagers rushed toward them, one of them holding a teddy bear, frantically calling for its owner. "Is this yours?" The boy's face was flushed with a mix of adrenaline and concern. A sense of relief washed over Jake as he realized Emily hadn't been lost, she just hadn't understood. "Yes. That's hers," he confirmed, smiling gratefully as the boy handed the bear over. Emily's face brightened at the sight of her beloved toy, the worry that had knitted her brows now folding into a joyous smile. But just as quickly as the relief came, it slipped away. Jake glanced back, finding Mark still standing there, the softness in his expression replaced with something darker. Mark's fists clenched at his sides, eyes narrowed as he observed the scene with a watchful intensity. "Are you going to keep running, Jake?" Mark's voice sliced through the festive air, louder now, pulling the attention of nearby onlookers again. "Running away from your past? From the person you used to be?" The words hit like a bolt of lightning, igniting the anger he tried to tame. Jake stepped forward, closing the distance. "This isn't about me. This is about Emily. You don't know what it's like, don't I? You think I haven't been there?" Mark shot back, his voice trembling. "You hide behind that perfect dad act, but I see you. You're scared and so am I." With those words, something shifted between them. The crowd faded into the background, their eyes a mere blur. Jake felt a flicker of understanding, a thread of connection that neither of them had wanted to admit existed. Two fathers before their children, facing the weight of their failures, their choices. "Maybe we both are," Jake admitted, his voice low, but firm. "But we can't keep dragging each other down." Mark stiffened, then looked to the ground, processing. Seconds felt like hours as the gravity of their shared struggles loomed over them. The laughter and music from the fair returned like ghosts laughing at a silent pain. Jake turned back to Emily, pulling her into his embrace, her bear clutched tightly to her chest. He needed to show her strength. He needed to shield her from the shadows that loomed over both men, but in that moment of respite, another scream echoed from behind the carnival, deep in the nearby woods. It was louder, more frantic. Jake felt his breath hitch again, dread pooling in his gut. What was that? He muttered, the fear creeping back into his mind. Mark's expression darkened, and before Jake could respond, he bolted toward the sound. Without thinking, Jake followed, adrenaline surging through him. What they might find in the woods could change everything. Both men knew that, but neither could back down now. As they plunged into the thick trees, the air turned heavy with uncertainty. There would be no turning back. Whatever awaited them would demand more than just courage. Would it unite them, or push them further apart? Jake pushed through the underbrush, branches snapping underfoot. Each step felt charged with purpose, but also fear. The scream had echoed in his mind, a haunting melody that called him to the source. "Emily!" He shouted again, hoping for a response. Mark was just ahead, his focus intense, not sparing a glance back at Jake. This path seemed to lead them deeper into the woods, further from the laughter and lights of the carnival. Shadows danced ominously between the towering trees. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth, and the sun's ability to penetrate the canopy felt all but lost. "What if it's nothing?" Jake asked, his voice trembling slightly. It was almost a plea, an unspoken wish that they could turn back. "It wasn't like that last scream," Mark said, without looking back. "Something's wrong." Jake swallowed hard, grounding his thoughts. Where was Emily? What could have happened to them both? The dread knotted tightly within him, a tangible weight that threatened to drag him down. His daughter was brave, but she was still 5. Whatever lay ahead, he needed to be ready to protect her, ready to confront whatever was about to unfold. They burst out into a small clearing, breathless and alert. The trees parted to reveal a scene that took his breath away. Emily was standing, frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks. On the ground beside her lay a small boy, no older than Emily, curled up and sobbing quietly. "Emily!" Jake called, rushing toward her. She turned, her eyes wide with fright. "Dad!" "I couldn't help him." Jake knelt beside her, pulling her close. "You're okay, sweetheart. Let's see what's wrong with him." He reached for the boy gently, noticing the blood on his knee and streaks of mud painting his hands. "Hey there, buddy, what's your name?" The boy looked up, eyes full of confusion and fear. "Toby," he whispered, swallowing hard. "I got lost, and I fell." Mark moved closer, kneeling beside Jake and Emily, suddenly eager to help. "It's okay, Toby. Can you tell us where your parents are?" "I tried to find them," Toby said, his voice breaking. "But I can't. I can't see them anymore." A lump formed in Jake's throat. The panic in Toby's voice mirrored every father's worst nightmare, the thought of losing a child in this vast unknown. He glanced at Emily, remembering the adrenaline that had surged when she had been distant from him moments ago. Mark touched Toby's shoulder. "Let us get you cleaned up, okay? We'll find them." Seconds felt like hours as they comforted the boy, each of them wrestling with the weight of their own pasts. The fight they had just begun now seemed insignificant. What mattered was here, right in front of them. The connection was palpable, born from shared anxieties and a fierce determination to protect the innocent, but then, from the corner of his eye, Jake caught another movement. Out of the shadows stepped a figure, tall and ominous against the fading daylight. "Jake, watch out!" Mark shouted, instinct tingling in his spine. Jake's heart raced again, a fresh wave of fear twisting violently within him. Who was this newcomer? Was this a stranger threatening their fragile assembly, or could there be more to the story? As the figure stepped closer, Jake's mind raced with terrible possibilities. What was about to unfold would test everything they had fought to protect. Jake's breath caught as the figure emerged from the shadows. It was a woman, tall and imposing, but her eyes were soft, almost gentle. Dark hair fell around her shoulders, framing a face that bore both strength and weariness. There was something about her that made Jake's instinct flare. It was a mix of protectiveness and uncertainty. "Step away from the boy," the woman said, her voice steady but low, carrying an undertone of desperation. She took another step forward, and the trees creaked almost in response. "Who are you?" Jake asked, rising instinctively to shield Emily and Toby behind him. The adrenaline coursed through him like a raging river. "What do you want?" "I'm not here to harm anyone," she replied, raising her hands slightly, palms out. "I'm looking for Toby's parents. I was nearby when he fell. You have to believe me." Jake felt the tension in the air shift. He exchanged a glance with Mark, who looked equally stricken by the sight of this woman. There was an intensity in her gaze that intrigued Jake but also made him cautious. He took a slow, steadying breath, reminding himself that right now, helping Toby was the priority. "Is that true?" he asked the boy, who was still trembling against Emily's side. "Do you know her?" Toby peered up at the woman, his confusion flickering momentarily into recognition. I think so," he said quietly, wiping his tears away. "But I didn't see you when I got lost." "Because you were scared," the woman said gently, her voice softening. "I was trying to find you, Toby. You wandered off, but I saw you fall. You shouldn't be out here alone." Jake's heart sank at the thought of the peril that had almost befallen Toby. He looked at Mark, who nodded, slowly drawing back. It seemed they all felt the magnetic pull of this mysterious woman. "Okay," Jake said, forcing the weight of concern from his chest. "If you're here to help, then let us focus on getting Toby home. He's hurt." "Yes," she replied, stepping even closer, her eyes fixating on Toby with warm intensity. "I'll help you. I know the paths around here, but we can't stay in one place for long. It's dangerous." "What do you mean?" Jake asked, unease creeping back in. Before she could answer, a rustling from behind them made everyone freeze. Fear gripped the air like a vice. They all turned to see another figure emerging, a man, tall, cloaked in shadows, his eyes glinting like a predator's. "Let the boy go," he demanded, voice low and threatening, a stark contrast to the woman's soothing cadence. "Who are you?" Jake shouted, adrenaline pumping through him again. The woman took a step back, her expression shifting from concern to something more fierce, more protective. "You need to trust me," she said, her words punctuated by the growing tension in the clearing. Before Jake could respond, another scream pierced the quiet of the woods, the unmistakable sound of fear. Emily! He yelled, turning to look at his daughter, who had instinctively moved closer to Toby. The world around them felt ready to explode, hearts racing, danger thickening the air. What was about to unfold? Would they summon the courage to confront the threats closing in around them? Jake couldn't shake the feeling that a dark truth was about to be unearthed. "Get behind me!" Jake shouted, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. He felt the weight of his role as protector crashing down around him. As he moved closer to Emily and Toby, he could see the fear plastered on their faces. The man in the shadows stepped forward, revealing more of his face, which looked grim and tight. "You have something that belongs to us," he said, his eyes never leaving Toby, who instinctively clung tighter to Emily. "We're not giving him to you." Jake barked back, squaring his shoulders. "Sounds like you should think again," the man responded, a chilling smile creeping across his lips, revealing a flash of teeth. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. This is bigger than you." The woman stepped forward again, eyes blazing with defiance. "You're not taking him. I'll protect him." Toby looked between the two, confusion masking his innocence. He didn't understand the peril surrounding him or the stakes at play, but his small fingers gripped Emily's hand with desperation. Jake's heart raced, he felt the weight of responsibilities that had kept him awake many nights. Single parenting wasn't easy, and now standing here, he realized he was outmatched. He needed to play this carefully, for Toby's sake. "What do you want?" he questioned, his voice steadier than he felt. "Why do you need Toby?" The man took another step closer, and the ground beneath them felt unsteady as though the earth itself knew there was danger brewing. "Let's just say," he began with a low growl, "he's got something special that we need." "What do you mean special?" Jake's jaw tightened, his fists clenched at his sides. The woman intervened, her voice urgent. "They're not what they seem. They want to use him for their own purposes. Everything Toby's been through, it's all connected to them." Toby, sensing the tension, looked up at Jake with wide eyes. "Daddy, I'm scared." The urgency in his son's voice broke through Jake's hesitation. He kneeled down, taking Toby's hands in his firm grip. "I know, buddy. We're going to get out of this together. You're safe with me." He could feel Emily's squeeze on his shoulder, her silent support soothing in a moment of chaos. The cloaked man chuckled darkly. "You think you can protect him? You don't even know what you're facing. Let's make this easier." He gestured behind him, and from the shadows, more figures emerged, equally cloaked and menacing. They surrounded the clearing like wolves closing in on their prey. "What now?" Mark whispered, his voice barely audible but tinged with panic. Jake's mind raced. They were outnumbered, hope rapidly dimming under the weight of encroaching darkness. He looked to the woman, who had stepped beside him, unwavering despite the threat looming before them. "We have to get to higher ground," she whispered, urgency in her voice. "Right," Jake agreed, scanning the surroundings for any escape routes. He needed a plan, and quickly. Just as he turned back to grab Toby, the man lunged, and Jake instinctively pushed Toby and Emily behind him. The world spun as adrenaline flooded his veins. "Run!" Jake shouted, but deep down, he wondered if they could escape the magnetic pull of fate that had brought them all to this point. Just then, a loud crack split the air as one of the figures stumbled, revealing a glinting object falling from its grasp. For the briefest moment, the chaos halted, all eyes on that single item, a small key that fell into the dirt, shining ominously in the fading light. "What is that?" Emily breathed, her eyes wide. Jake couldn't shake the sense of dread. Was this key the heart of everything they were fighting for? Could it hold the answers to saving Toby? As the tension thickened, they had a choice to make: run blindly or confront the truth of it all. And as he stood there, Jake knew they were at a crossroads. What would they choose? Would they unlock the mystery or fall back into the shadows? Jake's heart raced, each beat pounding in his ears like a war drum. The small key lay there, glittering in the dusk, a beacon amid the surrounding threat. It felt the size of the world, as if its weight could tip the balance of what was happening. Should we grab it? Emily's voice was barely a whisper, the fear in her eyes deepening. No. We can't risk it, Jake replied tightly, his mind already plotting their next move. They were still cornered, and he couldn't lose focus. The cloaked man, sensing the moment of hesitance, stepped toward the key, a hungry glint sparking in his eyes. Ah, so you see it, too. But do you really understand what that holds? Emily shook her head, determination flooding her features. We know what we have to do. We keep moving, no matter what. Toby pulled at Jake's sleeve, his voice trembling. Daddy, what if they take you away? Jake felt a wave of anguish wash over him at the thought. That will never happen, buddy. I promise. He swept an arm around Toby, holding him tight. From behind, the figures encroached, and Jake could feel the heat of their malicious intent wrapping around them like a tightening noose. We can't run forever, he murmured, urgency creeping into the tone. We have to think. Higher ground. The woman urged again, breaking through the tension. They can't follow us if we get to the ridge. With determination lighting his eyes, Jake nodded. That way. He pointed toward the outline of a steep incline. Come on. They moved as one, Emily, Toby, and the woman pushing through the thickening darkness that twisted around them like a living thing. The man called out from behind, his voice like gravel. You will regret this. You have no idea what you're getting into. Jake could almost hear the clock ticking in his head as they sprinted. Faster. He urged, his heart a frantic rhythm that matched his racing feet. Each second felt critical, the looming figures threatening to snatch their freedom away. As they neared the ridge, Jake felt something shift. That key, he thought. It could be the connection, but he pushed the thought aside for the moment, focusing on getting them all to safety. The ridge loomed closer. Jake led them up, the path steeping sharply, rocky underfoot, a physical challenge that matched the emotional struggle swirling within him. He pushed thoughts of doubt away, channeling everything into keeping Toby safe. Just as they reached the top, Jake turned back, catching sight of the group below. They had halted, staring up at them with dawning realization. The woman beside him let out a breath that shook with relief, but Jake wasn't ready to celebrate yet. What are they waiting for? Suddenly, the cloaked man raised his hand, gesturing. The others stepped aside, revealing a dark, hulking figure behind them. It was larger than any of them, a shadowy outline brimming with power and malevolence. What is that? Emily gasped, her eyes widening in horror. Jake's heart dropped, dread pooling in his stomach. They weren't just facing a group of desperate pursuers, they were up against something far more menacing. We can't stay here, Jake said, panic lacing his voice. We have to find a place to hide or defend ourselves. As they scrambled to find a safer spot behind the jagged rocks, the dark figure took a step forward, and an unnatural chill swept over them, forcing Jake to swallow against the rising fear. Please not now, he thought, the weight of fatherhood pushing him to protect his son at all costs. Through the hush of the night, their eyes met, sharing a silent commitment, the determination to protect one another. Just as they prepared themselves to fight or flee, the dark figure spoke, its voice piercing through the night air, You cannot escape your destiny, Jake. The words hung heavy, a dark promise laced with truth. What destiny? What fate awaited them? As they crouched tightly together behind the rocks, a feeling of dread washed over them, binding their hearts in fear. They needed to unravel the mystery of the key and what it meant. But would they be able to confront the monsters ahead in time? And just as those thoughts clawed at Jake's mind, a flash of light erupted from the key, casting an ethereal glow around them amid the deepening shadows. What would happen next? Would they find the strength to unlock what fate had in store for them, or would they succumb to the darkness? Jake squinted at the key, its glow flickering in the eerie quiet of the night. It was as if it had a heartbeat of its own, pulsating with energy and promise. The chilling presence of the dark figure loomed closer, a suffocating shadow against the ethereal light. "What does it mean?" Toby asked, his voice breaking the silence. The innocence in his question made Jake's heart ache, igniting an overwhelming urge to shield him from all harm. "I don't know, buddy. But we won't let them take us," Jake promised, holding Toby tighter, wishing he could shield him from the darkness surrounding them. The dark figure took another step, the air around them quaking with a sense of foreboding. "You've always been too curious for your own good, Jake. But your curiosity will lead to your ruin." Emily clenched her fists, a spark of anger igniting in her eyes. "Who are you? What do you want?" The figure sneered, revealing a jagged grin beneath the hood, shadows spilling over its features like ink. "You know what I want. The key belongs to me, and I will have it." Jake felt the rush of adrenaline surge again, but he kept his feet planted firmly. "You won't get anything from us." The figure stepped forward, as if testing their resolve. With every inch it moved, the light from the key pushed back, illuminating the jagged rocks beyond. It was a strange contradiction. The figure was powerful and terrifying, but the key's glow seemed to repel its darkness. "Why did you bring us here?" Jake demanded, desperation creeping into his voice. "Because you need to understand your destiny," the figure replied, its voice now smooth as glass. "To embrace what awaits you and your child. The key is but the beginning." Emily's eyes widened in dawning realization. "It's not just a key. It's a link to something else, something powerful." Jake was hit with a wave of understanding. What if the key can unlock more than just secrets? What if it can help us fight back? Just as he spoke, the glow intensified, dancing out like ribbons of light, wrapping around them. Toby tugged on Jake's sleeve, his voice trembling. "Daddy, what's happening?" "Stay close to me," Jake ordered, uncertainty gripping him. He felt the glow spreading warmth through him, but the chilling aura of the figure drew nearer, threatening to snuff it out. "Foolish human," the dark figure hissed. "You have no idea what you're invoking." Suddenly, the light from the key erupted in a blinding burst, illuminating the night. Jake shielded Toby as his heart raced. Could it truly hold that much power? As bright as the light became, a sense of hope ignited in him. Maybe they could fight back. "Keep your eyes on the key," Jake shouted to Emily, their only beacon in the gathering storm. "It's our chance." Through the dazzling light, they could see shadows forming, distorting into shapes which began to writhe and recoil. The dark figure, momentarily distracted, bared its teeth, and for the first time, doubt flickered in its eyes. "This is not over," it hissed before fading back into the darkness, but the threat lingered, heavy and palpable, like smoke in the air. Jake turned to Emily and Toby, their eyes wide with disbelief. What just happened? The key, still glowing, felt warm against Jake's fingers. He took a breath, realizing that understanding was just the start. "I think the key can protect us. But it might also lead us into unknown dangers." Emily nodded, eyes still fixated on the fading glow. "Are we prepared for that?" Jake scanned the landscape, his pulse pounding in sync with the remnants of the key's light. They had faced the shadows and glimpsed their own strength. But could they truly wield it? "I guess we'll have to find out." "Together," Jake said softly. Just as silence enveloped them once more, a loud crack echoed in the distance, signaling a shift, the eerie calm before the storm. The dark figure was still out there, gathering power, and they couldn't let their guard down yet. With hearts pounding in unison, they all shared a glance, the realization settling in, they had just begun to scratch the surface of what they were facing. But with the key's magic shimmering between them, the fight was far from over. What lay ahead? Would they be able to uncover the truth behind the key before the darkness closed in again? The moment the crack echoed through the stillness, Jake's heart stopped. A ripple of energy swept across the ground beneath their feet, vibrating with a low hum that sent shivers down his spine. He scanned the darkness, searching for the source. Emily instinctively moved closer to Toby, her eyes darting fearfully around them. "Get ready," Jake whispered, gripping the key tighter. It felt like an anchor amidst the rising tide of uncertainty, its warmth pulsing in response to his unease. "Do you think it's back?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. A flicker of doubt crossed her face. She knew the figure was not gone for good. "It has to be. We've only just started." Jake's voice was steadier than he felt. He stepped forward, feeling the glow radiate from the key, illuminating his surroundings. Shadows danced at the edges of the light, teasing him with glimpses of what lay beyond. "Daddy!" Toby cried, pointing. In the distance, a new shape loomed, a figure not masked in darkness, but etched in soft light. As it stepped closer, clarity emerged. It was a woman with flowing hair that sparkled like the stars above, her eyes bright and filled with determination. "Keep your eyes on her," Jake instructed, wary but intrigued. The woman moved gracefully, as if she floated above the ground, and the shadows seemed to part for her. "Who are you?" The woman paused just outside the glow of the key's light. "I am a guardian," she replied, her voice soothing yet electrifying. "I come at the behest of the key, to guide you." "Guide us?" Emily echoed, skepticism creeping into her voice. "Why should we trust you?" "Because," she said, her expression earnest, "only together can we unlock the power you hold. The dark figure seeks to claim the key for itself, to plunge this world into chaos. But you have a choice: embrace your destiny or let fear consume you." Jake exchanged glances with Emily, both of them weighing her words. The guardian seemed sincere, but doubt still lingered. "What do we need to do?" "You must embrace the light within you," she continued. "The key is a beacon, guiding you to your true selves. You have yet to understand your strengths, your bond, and the power that grows through love and courage." "Sounds great and all," Jake interjected, "but what if we fail? What if it's a trap? Then face it." "But failing means never trying." "I can help you. The darkness will always be lurking, waiting for a moment of weakness." Toby tugged at Jake's jacket, his hesitant voice breaking in. "Are we going to be okay, Daddy?" Jake knelt down, looking directly into Toby's eyes. "We're going to be okay. We're together, and no matter what happens, we fight for each other. We fight for everyone." The guardian smiled gently, her eyes filled with warmth. "That's the spirit. Follow me closely. We'll need to reach the heart of the power that the key unlocks if we're to stand against the darkness." As she turned to lead them, the shadows swirled and writhed behind her, as if angry at her light. A new determination surged through Jake. This was not the end of their struggle, it was merely the beginning of a journey he never anticipated. With the warmth of the key in hand and Toby close by, they moved forward. Each step felt heavier, carrying the weight of uncertainty, yet within it lay the flickering glow of hope. Suddenly, a cold laugh pierced the air. The dark figure slithered back into sight, its form dipping in and out of the shadows, weaving through the dark like smoke. "You think you can outrun your fate? You have no idea what you're facing." Jake gripped the key tighter, the warmth coursing through him, tangling with fear. They had ignited this battle. But was there enough light in them to turn the tide against the darkness? "The moment of truth is upon you," the figure taunted, its eyes gleaming with malevolence. With a deep breath, Jake prepared himself, feeling a surge of courage bubble within. What truths awaited them at the heart of it all? Would the power they unlocked be enough to save them, or would they fall into the very darkness they sought to escape? With the key glowing in his hand, Jake squared his shoulders and took a step forward, forcing himself to stand tall against the encroaching threat. The darkness loomed, yet the warmth from the key seemed to pulse with strength, igniting a fire within him. "Bring it on!" Jake shouted, the words bursting with unexpected confidence. "We won't back down." Emily and Toby stood resolutely beside him, their small forms radiating faith in their father's courage. The figure before them, once ominous, now seemed less daunting. Shadows twisted around, but they couldn't dim the light of their bond. "Don't be fooled," the dark figure sneered, its voice a sinister undertone. "Love and courage will not save you." Jake felt a wave of uncertainty, but he couldn't let it seep into his heart. He turned towards the guardian, who raised her hands, guiding an arc of light beyond the glow of the key. "You must learn to harness this power together. The shadows are strong, but they cannot withstand unity." He looked at Emily and Toby, their faces etched with determination. "We're in this together," he declared. They nodded, pouring their trust into one another. "Okay, we need to channel the light," Emily shouted, her voice a battle cry. She reached for Toby's hand, and Jake grasped hold of the key, all three of them interlinking their fingers. The guardian smiled, urging them onward. "Focus your love for each other and the strength within you. Let that illuminate your path." Together, they closed their eyes, letting the warmth wash over them like a rising sun. Love, courage, and unity spiraled out from their hearts toward the dark figure. The light took shape, becoming a swirling energy, dancing with purpose. "Stop!" The dark figure's voice wavered, a wave of uncertainty breaking through its menacing facade. "You can't do this." But they could. With every ounce of love, the light surged forth, illuminating the shadows in a warm embrace, pushing back the darkness like an invading army retreating from a triumphant force. Sparks flew as rays of light connected with shadows, and with each pulse, Jake felt the fears etched on his heart begin to dissipate. He wasn't just a struggling father, he was a protector filled with hope. So were Emily and Toby. "Keep going," Emily urged. "Don't give up." With a tremendous surge, the force of their light expanded toward the dark figure, engulfing it in a radiant shield. For the first time, Jake saw a flicker of fear cross its daunting face. The darkness began to writhe and twist, powerless against the warmth of love that surrounded them. "Impossible!" The dark figure snarled, but a crackling energy burst forth, swallowing it whole, dragging darkness back into the recesses of the night. As silence fell, the light wrapped around them like a comforting blanket, filling Jake with warmth and security. They fell to their knees, breathless but triumphant. "We did it!" Toby squealed, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Jake laughed, tears of joy tumbling down his cheeks. "We did, buddy. We really did." Emily beamed, her smile illuminating the area brighter than any festival light. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, together, a family bound not just by blood but love. The guardian stepped closer, her presence stabilizing and serene. "You've unlocked something beautiful, power ignited through love. This is your gift. Your future can hold so much more than shadows. Embrace it." Jake nodded, his heart swelling with warmth. "Thank you," he whispered, gratitude pouring from him, but the guardian raised a hand, her expression solemn. "Remember, darkness will always lurk, but with your bond, you can face anything. Let it shine." As Jake, Emily, and Toby stood together, hands clasped, they felt the pulse of the key in Jake's palm, its glow now steady and bright, a constant reminder of their strength. They had come through the storm, and the storm would never fully settle, but they would face it together, always. With a new dawn breaking on the horizon, illuminating their path, they turned back toward home, ready for life's next adventure. Happiness flowed through their veins, and finally, Jake felt hope, the true essence of the American dream. Now, it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.